For tighter chokes, you need tighter muscles. That's today's tip here for training. And I have taught this quite a few times. If you see me teach triangle chokes, then you will see what I'm talking about. But I'm actually going to do an upper body example here since it's easier to see. Because I went to train with Jake Shields today, and he was helping people tune up their Darce chokes and the anacondas. And he came up with a very good tip for them, which is just what I'm going to tell you, which is tighten your muscles. And what do I mean by that? Let's say we're doing a Darce choke, right? If you imagine, I got my arm through, I'm making my figure four, I'm wrapping my hands, and then I'm here. And a lot of people will keep this hand open, and then they'll start to choke by pressing their chest in, and flexing the bicep, right? Which is good, but this arm, it might be like hooking or cupping, but either way, that's passive. My arm is mush right now, right? So I'm losing a strength here on this, or tightness on this choke, because I'm not making a fist. And you can see, I think the camera catches it. I'm trying to look at myself here to see if you guys can see the difference. But when you make a fist, your forearm muscles all activate. And guess what? There's some forearm going into that choke there, right? So, a lot of people do a good job of getting this bicep, and we definitely want that bicep, to contract a bit. You also should try to think of this arm too, whereas, usually we're trying to make this grip here, but if I can make, this tight as well, you're going to get now the bottom arm, which is mostly bone when we're choking, but it's not going to hurt you to have that tight, whether, I'm cupping here. I can still, with an open hand, you can still flex your hand. You see how I'm able to get that even with an open hand. But if I'm just passively hooking, it's still very soft here. If I'm hooking, but I'm putting intention on flexing the forearm, so it doesn't have to necessarily be a closed fist. A closed fist is going to be the easiest way to contract your forearms, right? But it's not required. As long as you could see that by doing this, I definitely tense it up there. And likewise, also with the bicep, we want to make sure that we're flexing the bicep as we contract the forearm, so everything's squeezing, right? And then likewise on this hand, whether I'm cupping here or making a fist here, everything needs to contract. You need to tighten everything. Okay, so very simple trick on chokes, right? And Darce choke, anaconda choke would be similar philosophies, right? With the anaconda, same type of thing. As you don't want to contract your bicep, make a fist with a forearm. On this side here, I can make my, contract that forearm, get everything nice and tight. Guillotines, right? Same type of deal. Now, when you see the way I teach guillotines, it always happens anyways because I always make a fist. So I'm getting that forearm activation automatically. But if you were loose, then you would be suffering here, right? Or if you're just doing this type of thing. So you would definitely, I feel, that's why I like that ball and socket grip quite a bit. But the other thing that people miss out sometimes is the bicep contraction, because remember, your bicep is on the side of their neck, and if you're loose, you've created like a soft pillow for them, right? So I should be sure that I have some contraction of the bicep so that it firms up a bit, right? If you haven't seen me do this for chokes, well, this will get funky, right? But if you imagine a triangle choke, I would be locked in here, right? I'm in a little awkward spot, so I can't really do that, but you get the idea. If my foot is loose, meaning like it's pointed, you can see my calf muscle is just swinging in the wind, right? Now, toes up, it locks up. It's firm now, right? Same philosophy for triangle chokes. A lot of people, when they get their triangles, because they lack the flexibility, they'll lock, try not to kill myself here, but they'll lock their triangle like this on the toes. And you see my calf muscle? Soft, right? When your foot's extended like this, or my foot's completely, extended there, the calf muscle can't, it's very hard to engage. Like I'm trying here, very little activation, okay? And you won't be able to in this position. If I lock a triangle properly, which is, either at the bend of my knee or even higher towards my calf, now I can bring my toes up. And you see when I bring my toes up, my calf gets very tight. And the stronger I flex this, the tighter this becomes. Now keep in mind, in the triangle choke, you're trying to choke them with their own arm from the front, and you're thinking your hamstring is getting a little bit aside. But the back is important because if there's not a solid backing behind their neck, right, that means there's going to be a space that their head's going to be able to travel, or their neck, rather, the back of the neck is going to travel into to avoid the frontal pressure. So it's got to be tight 360, all right? Don't just think of how, if all your focus on the choke is where you're putting the pressure and you forget about bracing from the back, all that push is just going to move them up, right? So you're just going to move them upwards, right? So it's got to be a solid brace on the back. So any pressure that goes up has no release, right? It just instantly cranks. Just think of a guillotine. If I did a guillotine and his head was just on the outside, not under my armpit, if I cranked as hard as I could here, all would happen is his head would shift up, right? So there needs to be a brace, right? And that's why we use the pit of our armpit there, get their head stuck in there, so the back of their neck is trapped under our shoulder. And now I can even accentuate that by dropping my shoulders so I get a collision, and then raise the hands up to strengthen my choke. But at the very least, their head shouldn't be traveling. If their head can move up, right, and you could see in a guy with a weak guillotine, like their elbow starts to come up really high like this. Now, like I'm in a very weak position, right? I can't really contract my bicep here. It's very hard, like you're just not strong versus where I'm here, I'm in a much better spot. Hopefully you get the idea here. Tightness in your choke requires tightness in your muscles, right? So make sure you don't have any flabby muscles that are surrounding, or rather anything that's going to surround your opponent's neck when you're doing a choke should be tight, firm, solid, right? You don't want any flaccid, loose things going around, right? It's going to be for a bad time. It needs to be firm. So whether you're making a fist, curling your toes up, right? Or you're contracting your bicep, make sure that all those things are locked in. And as well, that last point there, that even if you feel like it's not a choking area like the back of the neck, it still has to be very tight and firm so that they don't move away from where you are applying pressure. Thanks for watching the video. If you enjoyed it, please like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you'll be notified of all of my latest videos on YouTube. But really the best place to find all my content is my website, davidmma.com. You can register for free and get access to 4 free courses, including Kimura Fundamentals, Essential Half Guard Kimura, Essential Half Guard Passing, and much more.